Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to the Freedom from the Press podcast. My name's Jason Robertson, and I'm here with my partner in crime,
Todd Peterson. I am not Democrats' favorite, Jason. I've got a social security number, born in America. Welcome aboard, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Facebook, where the views might be small again today, but we got Kagan Girl in the chat. We got Rumble live. We're live on YouTube, live on X. Thanks for joining us this morning, folks, as we dive into absolute insanity. And Jason, my only question is, how is half this country on board with it? Half this country voted for Kamala Harris. I think they would still vote for Kamala Harris.
You know, it's funny, and every week when we go to do a podcast, we always got to talk about, okay, we're going to have an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes if we run long. Like, what do we want to talk about? And there's the big, beautiful bill. There's, the Trump Elon stuff, which let us know if y'all want us to dig into that. Todd and I are kind of like, I don't know. Two billionaires fighting, let them fight. But do we go through that? Do we go through the Congress people doing it? And one thing that resonated with me, and we were debating what to title the podcast, but it's like the future Democrats want, the voting constituents. And we're going to go through some Minnesota stories that just blew my mind that came up this week. And I think today it's like we got to put on our lab hat, and we're going to go into this dissecting Democrat thought process because, folks, if you look at it like that, it's horrifying, Todd. It's horrifying.
Absolutely horrifying. Jason, I want to give a special invitation to the trolls out there, to the people that stop and watch us on Facebook and say, these guys don't know what they're talking about. Of course, illegals deserve health care from the American taxpayer. Please let us know in the comments below. I'm asking right now, defend these policies. Please give me a rational explanation for why an illegal alien deserves health care, and for that matter, why anyone deserves, quote, free, end quote, health care.
Yeah, and I think hopefully what everybody can walk away from this episode is we talk a lot, Democrats are stupid, why don't they get it? As we fight these battles for closing borders, deportations, these critical things, you have to understand why it's so important. You have to understand how these Democrats want to radically change America. I mean, we are no longer talking, I want a 12% tax rate and they want 15. We are talking fundamental changes these clowns are pushing for. And you would have thought after the last election, the big, beautiful landslide Trump got, you would have thought the GOP would understand, no, we need to stop this radical transformation. You would have thought Democrats would have said, let's take a step back. Maybe that isn't resonating with the American people. They continue doubling down, and they're saying the quiet part out loud. It's insane.
Yeah, it is not the 12 versus 15 debate anymore. It is, do you want America or do you want South Africa? That's where they're at. They are openly saying, we want more and more illegals in this country. We'll always prioritize them. Screw you, American taxpayer. It's going to get wild today, Jason. I don't know how long we're going to survive on these big tech platforms.
Yeah, I was going to say, just so everybody knows, do us a favor, give us a like, comment, and share. Whatever platform you're on, we need to hit the thumbs up for us. We appreciate that. You can subscribe on some of the pages if you really like what we do. Todd and I are here every Friday. Todd's also does his own podcast Tuesdays, Thursdays. I'm the Wayne Dupree podcast Monday through Thursday. So we're all over. This is our favorite show, though. This is me and Todd shooting the breeze with really smart people. We got K-Gun Girl, Paul Reese. We'll have Cav and Fally and the others folks joining us. We might have Mickey, my neighbor. She stops by every now and again. Brought me sourdough last week after the podcast. That was fantastic. And Wrong Thing Fan's back. We like it. And K-Gun Girl with this is it. This is it. This is what the point we're making today. This is no longer a political disagreement. We are battling evil. What these Democrats want is evil. And here's what's sad. They think they're the good guys. And it's just ridiculous. But as we go through this stuff, really pay attention to what they want, the consequences of their policies and their actions are. And even though they've suffered rebukes, they continue doubling down on it.
Yeah, and I want to make the distinction, Jason. The elites know exactly what they're doing. It's the Democrat voters that we're pleading with today. And in every podcast, can you just please wake up right now? Democrats represent open borders, endless wars, going after your children in the school system or in their doctor's office. They want to release violent criminals into the streets. They want to steal all of your wealth and productivity and give it to people that are not deserving of it. That's what Democrats represent. Again, there is not a single thing you could say Democrats are trying to do, and it's the right thing. And even if they were like, here's one thing that I think Democrats are doing right, as a whole, it's just indefensible at this point. I would love for a troll in the comments to be like, you're a cultist and you drink the Kool-Aid, but they'll never defend their positions. But it's absolutely wild where we're at now.
Right. Do we start with that Scott Jennings clip, Todd?
I think so. Yeah, the mask is off here. If you didn't believe the title, if you don't believe us yet, take a listen to some of these clips here. And I think, Jason, we're going to play it and we're going to replay it and then break it down for you folks.
Yeah, and here's what to watch for. We always love to watch the Scott Jennings part. We always like to pay attention. Oh, look at that. Scott Jennings roasted him. And Todd and I are just as guilty as everybody else. What you need to do is listen closely to these Democrat responses, because this is what the Democrat Party represents.
Everyone deserves health care.
Even illegals?
Every single person in the world deserves
Just for the
health
record,
care.
as a candidate, you're for illegal aliens getting Medicaid.
I think everyone in the world deserves
That's a
health
yes.
care.
That's a yes.
I'm such a
That's a
modest-
Democratic
I mean,
position.
it is a yes, but
Yeah.
It's a Democratic
Everyone in the
position.
world
Illegal
deserves
aliens should
healthcare.
get Medicaid.
But I mean, I mean,
How is this
I
controversial?
don't. But
How is it controversial?
How is it controversial to think I don't want someone to die in the hospital because they can't afford
Who do you
it?
think pays for health care when undocumented people show up at a hospital? Who pays for that?
We all pay for it.
Exactly.
including
I mean, we all
undocumented
pay
people
for
because
it.
they actually contribute.
That's the point. That's the point.
We do realize that undocumented
Who pays for the welfare system in this country generally? Taxpayers.
Perhaps,
Are you for it or not?
Can I start my logic train?
Are
with
you for it or not?
My logic train starts with
Just
the fact that
say
I don't
yes.
want to kick 11 million people off
Do you
of
want
Medicaid.
the illegal aliens on or not?
Do I want first of all, do I want undocumented citizens to
Just
have
say
health care?
yes.
The answer is yes.
Scott,
Okay.
if someone is
More
undocumented,
Democrats.
do you want them to not get insulin if they're diabetic?
I want Medicaid to exist first and foremost for American citizens who need it. That is what I
What
want.
about second? How about this? When the people that are
passionate.
picking your peaches. Yeah, I'm passionate
Very
about Americans.
passionate for the illegals.
Sorry,
No, I'm passionate for
How dare you
Americans.
want people to be alive? How dare you?
Passionate for the illegals.
You
Bring
know-
more.
No, I actually want
But yes,
safe and secure borders.
You need more. To make your vision of America work, we need more illegals who get more benefits. That's your version of America.
No, what I want from America is a place that was promised to us, Scott.
To the
Like
illegals?
you do. No, it was promised to us. It was promised to
Us
us,
who?
not us, me and you, black and white, brown. Scott, do you think that your family was
You were
born
born
here?
here.
You weren't born here, Scott.
I was born in
First of all,
Dawson Springs.
where does your family come from? My family wasn't born here. My
Well,
family was actually from Sierra Leone.
You're making a passionate argument
Correct
for a
about what
country
our country's-
built on unfettered illegal immigration, and that is not
No,
anywhere
our
near
country,
a politically popular
Our
position.
country is built on immigration, period.
What kind?
Period.
What kind?
Oh, and first of all, before we go to commercial, what kind? What kind of immigration was I brought here
You're already
with?
in the hole. You sure you don't want to stop
No,
digging?
because it was slavery. That's not immigration.
Come on.
Well, okay.
Come on, what?
All right, there's a lot to be said.
Come on.
Hold on.
No.
Where do we start?
I'm going to start at the end here. We have this clown here. He's running to be a Democrat somewhere. And he says immigration was slavery. So when Scott presses him on the issue, what kind of immigrants came here? The correct answer, of course, is settlers. Settlers and pioneers came to this country and built it from nothing, just like they did in South Africa. But he says, no, slaves were the immigrants to America. And then did you notice that he said my family's from Sierra Leone, probably like last year? So even though America's racist and they had slavery and it's horrible to black people, his family still chose to come here, and now he chooses to live here. You can't have it both ways. That's where I'm going to start, Jason.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm going to say let's go back to the crazy blue-haired liberal. And I'll be honest, I didn't even look up who she was. She is just default liberal. She makes the argument that we should give health care. Everybody in the world should have health care. Here's the question. Anytime you're going to provide a good or service to the entire world, you need to pay somebody for that good or service. And the question is, who's paying for that? Do you think doctors and hospitals are going to work for free? Todd, this is communism, socialism at its finest. And nobody's saying they want people to die on the street. But the fact of the matter is, it costs money to provide health care to people. And this idiot doesn't even want just people here, but she wants to take it further. Like, we should make sure everybody in the world gets health care. So Todd, you, me, the people watching the chat. Hey, by the way, we got Dee Dee over here. Fally's over on the Rumble. We got Deb over there. We'll go through comments in a sec. But all these people think some magic fairy is going to pay for everybody in the world to get health care. Am I missing something, Todd? Like, let me know.
Well, if you're a Democrat voter, you absolutely believe in the healthcare fairy. Again, making the distinction, the elites know exactly what's happening. They want to steal from you. They want to plunder from you. They want you poor. And these Democrats out there, there we go. She's making the point perfectly. They're trying to moralize and say, if you don't support this, you want people to die. I would flip it around and say, what gives you the moral authority to steal my labor, my time, my wages? This is pure theft happening here. They don't want to talk about that. And no, I am not advocating for people to die. I'm saying their home country can take care of them. They can go seek a job that offers healthcare. They can live a healthy lifestyle. No, I'm not having any of this.
Right. And if you look, hey, we got Fally over there too. Last day of school. Congratulations,
Fally.
Yeah. But this is the spiritual battle we are fighting, is against idiotic leftist men and women, a lot of women, single cat ladies. We all know what they look like. That either this person is a complete idiot or they have been utterly brainwashed, because the fact of the matter is, think of how many people work in the healthcare industry. How many people, my wife works in the healthcare industry for an eye clinic. Todd, your wife works in the healthcare industry. Like many people, everybody we know has a friend or family member that works in the healthcare industry. You are saying that person's labor should not be on the free market. It should be in some sort of everybody pays for it. And they're saying every single person in the chat, it's your responsibility to make sure every other person in the world, whether productive or unproductive, needs to receive health care. And I'm sorry, the America I grew up in, if I want health care, I get off my butt, I go to work, I make sure I can afford my health care, I make sure I have insurance, and we can all want the medical industry to work better. But just the utter concept that everybody gets a good or service like healthcare for free, it is the most un-American thing I've ever heard of. And these people, and the people watching this show, watching CNN, there's people that are shaking their head like freaking seals going, yeah, this is great. Like, why wouldn't everybody get free healthcare? God, it makes me mad.
And did you notice they won't even defend their position? So they are saying it out loud. They're saying, yes, we want illegals to have health care. But when Scott Jennings pressed her at the beginning of the clip, I think we're going to have to play it one more time. Do illegals deserve health care? And their answer is not yes, it is everybody deserves it. They kind of skirt around the issue. And again, they're trying to frame it up as some moral, I'm better than you, I know better than you, I'm a better person. No, everybody deserves health care. Well, do illegals deserve health care? Everybody deserves health care. They won't just say it out loud. It's indefensible. At the end of the day, they do want that. But Jason, isn't it amazing how we went from 10 years ago, Bernie trying to say we need socialized healthcare in America? You do a better, Bernie, than I do. And now we've just right over from like all Americans deserve healthcare. Like, at least hash out that conversation. And we went all the way up now. Illegals deserve your tax dollars and healthcare.
It boggles my mind. And do we want to replay any of this clown before we move into clown number 2?
Let's break it down and then we'll replay it all at the end again.
All right. So clown number 2, and I actually want to play part of this clip. So bear with me, folks. All right, let's listen carefully to what clown number 2 says.
And perhaps,
Are you for it or not?
Can I start my logic train?
Are
with
you for it or not?
My logic train starts with the fact that
say
I don't
yes.
want to kick 11 million people off.
Do you
of
want
Medicaid.
the illegal aliens off?
Okay, I got to stop it right there. Let's start with the first step in his logic train. Logic, such a weak thing. He just said, I don't want to kick 11 million people off of Medicaid. Todd, how do you get on Medicaid?
Not the way the illegals got on it, I'll say that much. So you got on there the wrong way, and now he wants to keep them on there because reasons.
Well, and even bigger than that, he confirms there are 11 million people that are here illegally. The only way you get on Medicaid is by being poor. So if you think about that, like Medicaid, Medicare, I say, is for old people. Medicaid is for poor people. It's to make sure poor people have insurance. So he's flat out admitting 11 million people are here as they are not net taxpayers. They are draining the system more than they are contributing to the system. And they are taking the poor people insurance that they sold us as Americans, said, oh, we want to be nice. We want to make sure poor people have insurance. They are giving that health care to 11 million illegal people. And that's what I say. You know, Medicaid, Medicare, Medicaid is, Todd, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Shall we continue with his thoughts?
On or not?
Do I want first of all, do I want undocumented citizens to have health care? Yes. The answer is yes.
Notice how he changes the language. They're not illegals, which is actually the correct legal term. They're undocumented.
Okay. If someone is
More
undocumented,
Democrats.
Do you want them to not get insulin if they're diabetic?
I want Medicaid to exist first and foremost for American citizens who need it.
What about second? How about this? When the people that are picking your peaches.
Sorry, I got to pause it there. They always do this. They always default to, we want slave labor in the United States. And notice I commented on it first. At the very end of the clip, he's like, well, slaves were the immigrants and my family came from Sierra Leone. And then they have no problem saying, we need these people here to pick our peaches. We've had the other clips go around where they're like, who's going to have a blueberry smoothie? Who's going to have their avocados and salads if we get rid of all the illegals here? They're always going to say, we see these people as human beings and no human's illegal and they all deserve health care. Oh, and by the way, we also value slave labor in America to pick your produce. Again, which one is it, Dems?
Yeah, I was going to say, I love when these people who are the people that want to bring up slavery, and then they dovetail into, let's bring in third world immigrants who, instead of the slave master paying them, they are being paid by the government and taxpayers. Like, how is this? Like, we still don't want to pay them the wage we'd pay an American to do it. No. Like, and it's funny, you see the meme, like, you know, Democrats back in the day were like, who would pick the cotton? Astounding. It is astounding.
Here, Jason, I got to go to this Fally comment here. I have a personal anecdote about this. So Fally writes, so if I go to another country, they're going to give me free everything, right? Wrong. When I was in Spain as a college kid, Spain had socialized healthcare, and I think I've told the story in the podcast. They made me present a passport. It wasn't you show up to this socialized hospital system and, hey, I have something going on. I need you to check it out. They looked at me and they said, we're going to need a passport from you. You speak broken English. You have an American accent. You look American. They made me pay for my own hospital visit in a socialized system. And meanwhile, I'm in southern Spain. Africans are fresh off the boat and they're getting their free healthcare. No, you do not get free healthcare when you go to other countries. I wouldn't expect it. When I was in Peru for a year, I paid for every doctor visit, even though they had socialized healthcare too. It's the cherry picking of what's going on here. As an American, do you get free healthcare? You don't want free healthcare, but do you get it? But no, the illegals get to get it. Who is defending this?
I am just beside myself. And I got to say, Frank, like comment of the day, those 11 million illegals need to be rounded up and deported back to the country they came from. And if they want to come, do it the right way. Yeah. And here's the thing. I've told this personal anecdote. And so I met up with one of my business partners, Mike, who does some social media posting for us the other day. And we were talking because our kids are like, oh, like we got a couple liberal kids and they're like, we might need to move out of the country. And Mike's like, what country's going to want them? Like they're doing menial labor at a factory or at a warehouse. They are not super educated. It's not like they're a computer programmer. They don't have any money. Like, do they understand? And like, you know, some of their political beliefs are kind of out there and they're outspoken on social media. They're like, what country is going to take them? You know, and the fact is, any country that you might want to go to isn't going to do that, because most of those countries are like Judeo-Christian and whatnot. And it's like any of the countries that maybe would look at them would not be a country you'd want to go to. But the countries you would want to go to are in most cases are even more strict than America. And shout out to Debbie. No illegal deserves anything. Let them get it like I did. I worked my whole adult life to qualify. Stop with all the handouts. I'm 75 and scraping by. The illegals have food stamps. I don't qualify. That is exactly our point. And I'm going to keep hammering this home, so I apologize if it feels repetitious. This Democrat, all of them on this panel, are okay saying it is our responsibility as American taxpayers to pay for all of this stuff that these illegals get, people that came in our country that don't want to be part of America.
Yeah, I think we have to dedicate a separate podcast to why socialized healthcare is destined to fail, designed to fail, Jason. First, I want to get into the Facebook comments. We have a very active Facebook chat. And folks, this is a great time to remind you, you can find Freedom from the Press podcast, the entire American Tribune video library over on Rumble. Search out the American Tribune. When you see the Rumble comments on your screen, they are part of the Rumble family over there. But we got Craig over on Facebook saying to use the National Guard and the military along with ICE, get them all to the border and send them home. We got Jerry saying they should go through Ellis Island. Lois is right and stop all the giveaways. Let them do what my family who came here and received nothing did. Mark saying Biden in 4 years destroyed this country. Can't even make up 100% there. You got Chuck who's comment. I don't even know if I can read out loud. Thanks for watching, Chuck. Thanks for commenting. Christopher writes, these people are nuts. Yeah, you commented on Frank. Timothy says, wow, how do the people think this is okay? That's the $1 million question. Who is voting for this? You got Dave over there. You got Marlene. You got Mary. I can't even show all the Facebook comments. There are that many. Folks, thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. And again, if you're over on Facebook, check us out at rumble.com. Search out the American Tribune.
Yeah, and just a little foreshadowing. We have a couple videos we want to explore that we can't play on YouTube and Facebook. They were live interviews. People performed with some of the illegal immigrants. Some of them were kind of Minnesota cities, and Facebook, YouTube would nuke our pages. So we can't share those. So we do an hour on Facebook and YouTube. Do the last half hour Rumble only. That's where the party is. And yeah, we're going to show you some stuff over there. It's just going to knock your socks off.
Jason, I had to quench my thirst as well with a cup of coffee. Folks, I'm just going to get all the plugs in at the same time here. If you are looking for a new brand of coffee because they've all gone woke or they just don't taste good anymore, go to splitrockcoffee.com as well. Splitrockcoffee.com. Use promo code TOD10. I'm still on the breakfast blend. I know we got Paul in the chat here. He'll correct me if I'm wrong. He has a more caffeinated version if you want a more higher caffeine buzz. I was pretty sold on my breakfast blend, but I've got to go back to splitrockcoffee.com and order what it. Paul, let us know in the chat what the new coffee is, where I can get more caffeine content per sip. But promo code TOD10, splitrockcoffee.com, and support a local Minnesota disabled veteran-owned company. Jason and I are also in Minnesota, and that's where our stories are also coming from in just a second.
Yeah, and I got to say, I mean, isn't this heartbreaking when you see this in the chat? We got Dell over on the Facebook. I'm a 66-year-old woman and I can't afford health insurance. And these illegals get free on my tax dollar. This is why I hate Democrats. Yeah. Understand these people, like, they aren't even trying to hide it anymore. And maybe that should have been like part of the title. Like, they aren't even pretending. This guy readily admits 11 million people are here. They're so unproductive. They need free health care that American taxpayers should pay for it. The white liberal woman jumps in and says, and if you don't do it, you're a bad person. And she goes further and says, everybody in the world should have free health care. Insanity.
I think of my mother-in-law every time I see comments like that. Yeah, Dell, thanks for watching. My mother-in-law, 70 years old. She is still working because she needs health care for her and my father-in-law. They got a lot of medical bills there. And the only way they afford it is if she continues to work and grind it out. But you're going to be a 30-year-old illegal and come here and go to the front of the line immediately. It's insulting to her. It's insulting to every American. How are Democrat voters not outraged by this, that they're now at the back of the line and forgotten about? They'll use you for your votes, Democrats, and then they will proceed to put all the illegals and everybody else so that they can destroy this country.
Let's continue on with his, what did he call it, a thought train?
He has his logic train. Democrats have so much logic, they had to build out a train.
Yeah, I'm passionate about Americans.
Passionate for the illegals.
Bakari,
no, I'm passionate for Americans.
How dare you want people to be alive? How?
We can't even go 2 seconds without a comment. How can you say in one breath, I want everyone to get health care, illegals get health care, and then I'm passionate for Americans? Again, it is one or the other every single time they speak. You got to choose.
How dare you?
Passionate for the illegals. Bring more.
No, I actually want safe and secure borders.
You need more. To make your vision of America work, we need more illegals who get more benefits. That's your version of America.
No, what I want from America is a place that was promised to us, Scott.
To the illegals?
Like you do. No, it was promised to us. It was promised to us,
who?
not us, me and you, black and white, brown. Scott, do you think that your family was born here? You weren't born here, Scott.
I was born in
First of all, where
Springs.
does your family come from? My family wasn't born here. My family was actually from Sierra Leone.
You're making a passionate argument for a country built on unfettered illegal immigration, and that is not anywhere near a politically popular position.
Our country is built on immigration, period.
What kind?
Period.
What kind?
Okay. Oh, and first of all, before we go to...
All right. I just got to explore, because this is pure Democrat thought logic. Like, one, he works in my ancestors were slaves. Like, I'm going to use some moral argument opining about that. But also understand where he says, this was the America that was promised to you. This is the biggest lie these Democrats try to spin. America was not, until about 10 minutes ago, promised anything other than the land of opportunity, period. You come here, you have the right and responsibility to live freely and contribute to society. At no point ever until the last 20 minutes was America ever promised health care, food, shelter. Our ancestors that we talk about, everybody wants to dig in, our ancestors. No. The people that came through Ellis Island in the 1800s and 1900s were promised shit. They were promised nothing, no free stuff. They were promised this is a land of opportunity. Show up and go do you. They were not promised any free stuff. That is a lie. The second thing is they make this moral argument, like, where are you from? Like, how far back, how long do people have to be somewhere before it's their country? We talked about that in our South Africa episode a couple weeks ago. The part of South Africa they're fighting over right now with the farmers, the whites settled 400 years ago. 400 years ago, they settled South Africa. There were no blacks there. There were no black farms there. They are the longest indigenous population on that land in South Africa. Now, suddenly, the people from other parts of Africa want to steal their land, and they want to act like, well, it was ours originally. Like, how are we going to do this, folks? We came here, we established America. It is America's as long as we can keep it. And part of that is making sure we're secure, making sure people that come in understand our ideals. Oh, that makes me so mad, Todd.
I'm glad you said that. I was almost going to interrupt before you got your second idea back in there, but this is what they do. They tell you if you're a heritage American, you've never known anything different, you were born in this country, your parents were born in this country, you don't ever get to claim roots in America because it was stolen land. But then in the same breath, they will say, this guy, Jose, that came yesterday is just as American as you. And you're thinking, hold on a second. You just said I'm not an American. It doesn't matter how long I can trace ties back to this country. And this is the evil that they're perpetrating, Jason. I had to share this. This was over on X. The left truly believes this, though. Nationalism is stupid because you don't choose where you're born. What they are trying to do with this sentiment, again, this is only directed towards Americans. Every other country on earth, you get to be nationalistic, Chinese, Peruvian. You get to have your ethnicity. When you come to America, you get to defend, your roots, have your Puerto Rican holidays in New York City. You as an American, you don't get to celebrate any of that. And then the comment says, I think he edited it a little bit. Let me read it here. Since no one picks their birthplace, the only logical solution is to erase your own culture, rewrite your history, swap out your population. Anything less would make you a bigot. I didn't choose my family. Do I have to ignore my own parents and my siblings and my children? I didn't choose that. I was born into that. They want to go down to the most fundamental levels, the nuclear family, your familial ties. They want to erase all of it. This argument leads to the most horrendous outcomes possible.
Right. And do these people not understand, if you look at documented history for the last 2,000, 3,000 years, civilizations rise and fall. They are generally only successful when it is a united group of people with a common cause. Sometimes that common cause is really bad. The Aztecs built a very, very successful civilization from what they were able to build and population growth. It was built on like human sacrifice to the gods so their crops grew, but these people will look at that evil foundational society and say, oh, look, they were great. They were just indigenous. Why are you a racist? But America, who just comes in and says, pretty much be Judeo-Christian, work hard, we're going to give you an opportunity. Somehow we're the jerks. Oh, it makes me so mad. And why do they think, like, at what point did you get free stuff become part of the American vision? When they were settling this country, when we were building this country, get in the time machine, go back to 1920. Not a single American thought they deserve free stuff from other people. Now these evil bastards on the left have made this a persuasive, like, normal Democrats are like, well, yeah, everybody should get free stuff. Nobody is entitled to giving you free stuff.
Yeah, you don't have a right to my time, labor, or resources. If you want to engage in a market transaction and say, I will go get health care from you, and in return, I will pay you for your time and your skill set, we can talk about that. But no, you are not entitled, not as an illegal, not even as an American. You are not entitled to someone else's labor, time, effort, resources, and just expect nothing in return to be given to them. It doesn't work that way.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we like Split Rock coffee. Coffee you can drink all day. I recommend the dark roast. A little less caffeine. I get too hyped up on the light roast, Todd. I like the taste of the dark roast, too.
I could have sworn, if this is you on the dark roast, I don't want to see you on the light roast, Jason.
A couple times I have. I get all crazy. But, like, I don't get to call Paul and say, Paul, I really like your coffee. Send me free coffee.
Yeah, wrong things coming as well. The first thing slaveholders do is take away your last name. This is where it's headed. I think that's in a comment to the screen we're sharing right now here, where they don't want you to be nationalistic. They don't want you to have pride in your nation. You're right. I didn't choose to be born here, but I was, and I love it, and I'm grateful for it. I didn't choose my family, but I love them, and I'm grateful for the family that I have. They want to erase all of that, just like this comment suggests here. They want you to lose your last name, lose your identity, and then they can create whatever they want. And the thing that they want to create is this gal right here. If I can pop her back up.
What?
This is what they want to create. She has no national ties. I would guess if her dad voted Trump, she hates him, doesn't talk to him anymore. That's what they want to create.
Well, and it's funny you say that, and I make this statement a lot. And it is, if you were fortunate enough to be born in America, like I was back in the 70s, you won the lottery. I can't imagine, for as much complaining or as much as we want America to get back to its foundational roots, I won the lottery. I have food abundance. I have housing. I have employment opportunities. I can run my own business. I have more access to knowledge, to learning how to do things and then figuring out how to monetize it. I have a smartphone. I have air conditioning. I have all of the things. Most the rest of the world would die to have those things at our disposal. And when I see these crazy liberals, especially the ones who are getting free government food or housing, sitting on their smartphone on social media and think, my God, you entitled piece of trash. What makes you think that you have, like, you are so blessed? If you were born in any other country, you would be working in the gulags if they allowed you to exist in civil society, because you are so unproductive. It's crazy. But the fact that this insane blue-haired or blue-dressed liberal, like, doesn't appreciate and love the fact that she's born in America, go somewhere else. And back to slave guy. At what point is this guy gonna come out and say, hey, you know what? My ancestors were a-holes because they sold my ancestors, or other of my countrymen sold me to Americans as slaves, or English, or, whatever. They captured my relatives. They threw them in cages and they sold them. Does he have any bit of animus that the people that captured and sold him to Americans, or is all his animus to the Americans? Because this just in, the people that sold his relatives, they made money too. Like, they were businessmen and women too. Like, their business was capturing people and selling them to Americans. Okay, that might have went a little too far.
Yeah, I will say this. There is an open invitation to this gentleman right here. I will pay for a plane ticket. I will pay all of his moving costs if he wants to go back to Sierra Leone. I am going on record. You can hold me to this. I will fly him and move him back to Sierra Leone if America is so awful and hasn't lived up to its promises. He and his family can go back to where he came from. And Jason, this is where it gets sticky because we had a couple of South Africans resettled here. I'm happy to give them the vote tomorrow. There is something to be said, though, about being tied to America to have the right to vote. You don't get to come here as an immigrant and dictate how I live my life as an American. You can get on board with the program. You can show and demonstrate and earn your way to full status. But it's stuff like this. I don't know how long his family's been here, but if you're going to be here and not appreciate the stuff that you get while you're here, disqualifying as far as I am concerned. Voting needs to be so much harder. And I would add to my growing list of the fact that you need to be appreciative of this country. You can leave or you can stay silent. You don't get a voice in how this country is run.
It's funny you say that. I was talking to my wife yesterday. Will's putting out a really good piece on Substack about what happened in Rhodesia coming out today. And I was proofreading and it just really hit me where it's like in Rhodesia, which is now Zimbabwe, we've talked about it before, like it was more of an aristocratic setup and the country was doing really well in the middle of Africa, which was not a continent not doing well in the 1900s.
Is it doing well now? Has it ever done well outside of that small window where we had a few European establishments, Jason?
No, and now they're talking about South Africa because Rhodesia became Zimbabwe and got destroyed. But what was interesting is these Europeans went in and got this land. Most of the land, like in South Africa, was just like nobody was there. They just took it. Some of the land they fought and took. So if you want to make an argument about that, have at it. But regardless, they set up countries that were thriving. Like they had good health care, food abundance. And then the other populations came in to work in their cities that they built with their blood, sweat, and tears. And then at some point, when they were pushed to become a direct democracy, it turns out the quality people who set up this country were outnumbered by the non-quality people who had the entire rest of the continent to build their socialist dreams, and nobody was able to do it. So they went into Rhodesia and they gave equal votes to everybody. And then, of course, all the communists just said, well, we're just going to vote for communist policies. And now Rhodesia is Zimbabwe, and they're killing elephants to eat. And it just hit me because I'm like, oh, my God, like that's what's happening in America. The folks that are coming here, like they're trying to outnumber us by convincing these dim-witted Democrats that, oh, be a moral person, give everybody free stuff. And they're importing these people, have no interest or desire. This guy admits 11 million are here receiving illegals are here receiving free health care. He just admits it. Yeah, there's 11 million that are so unproductive they need to be on government health care. And that's a good thing. Insane.
Yeah, I got to give a little shout out to Kev. Kev's joining us on the Rumble. Good morning, Kev. Welcome aboard. And Jason, before we move on here, I just wanted to touch on David's comment. I'm going to be choosing my words carefully because we are on Facebook. At least when they came through Ellis Island, immigrants were given a health exam. Those that have come in illegally the last 4 years have brought diseases. Never forget when they were mandating certain behaviors and activities from you. Go get tested, go get juiced up. Do you know who is exempt from that? I couldn't go to the grocery store. I went to Home Depot and they scanned my forehead. Do you know who wasn't getting their forehead scanned when they came across the border? Never forget. And again, when we titled it, Illegals are Dems' favorite constituency, just think back to the health scare when they never got tested. They never had anything, but you were mandated to do everything.
Much like the riots that came out, like those were.
Well, Anthony Fauci did say, I'm not going to comment on that because fighting racism is also another kind of epidemic we need to be mindful of.
Oh, my God. And just think of how how idiotic do you have to be to like hear those arguments and be like, yeah, that makes sense.
That's exactly how they respond. They're like, yeah.
Right. Do we dissect any more of this, or do we go to those articles?
I mean, we spent 40 minutes on this video. I had a blast doing it. We could probably keep going. Should we move on?
Yeah, let's go on. Let's pull up that healthcare one.
All right.
Because this one just cracked me up. Now, Todd and I, full disclosure, next couple things we cover are going to be a little bit Minnesotan. And Minnesota, I think, is a fine litmus test for the rest of the nation. We are like California Junior. Todd and I are here on the front line. We got Paul and Mickey and a few of the people on the podcast that watch it. But what's happening here is what's happening in America. And the poll that they highlight says 61% of Minnesota support free health care for illegals. Now, it was funny. I retweeted that article and said, alternate headline, 39% of Minnesotans are retarded. But I want to explain how pervasive this is. And this was a big deal in Minnesota. In order to get the budget deal passed, Republicans, like the only line in the sand they drew was they wanted illegals off of health care. And think of that. If you, like Paul, who's driving home after his dad's, walking into the Walmart, and I live in a red area, so there'll be some variations. But on average, if you walk into a Walmart or Target in Minnesota, understand 4 out of 10 people there think illegal immigrants should receive health care. Todd?
Yeah, I love that you pointed out in your retweet there. Whenever I see statistics, I don't jump out at the headline. I always question, who are the other people that aren't on board with this? And of course, Jason, I've got a comment. I know it's not necessarily on this here. 61% of Minnesotans oppose it. 60% of Minnesotans will vote Democrat no matter what. And this is the message that we keep trying to relate. Like, at what point do Democrat voters realize they don't care about me? They use me for my vote. I'm an idiot. I'm a useful idiot for these guys. You will recognize that, yes, this is a bad idea. And again, only 61% think this is a bad idea. And then even though they'll be like, yeah, I oppose immigrants going on this healthcare plan. I generally oppose open borders. I generally oppose foreign wars. I generally oppose offing kids 9 months, in their mom's tummy. I oppose releasing these violent criminals. I oppose everything Democrats are doing. And when push comes to shove, I will still vote Democrat. This is where we live, Jason.
It does. Hey, Todd, can I have a permission to go off on a tangent?
Engage.
I want to say, I got to give a shout out to our audience, because that's part of the fun of doing this podcast, because they make really great points. So I'll encourage you, if you're watching the podcast, like, participate in the chats, talk to other people, because there's really smart people. And when you were talking about like the people being tested when they came in, Kev made a great point. So in America, we have eliminated measles. Measles is a virus. There is a V word for it. Essentially, though, with the measles population, if you never let anybody with measles into the control population of America, you will never get measles. Like, that's kind of the thing. When they bring people in and they don't screen for certain communicable diseases, you get it spreading to everybody. And then Fally makes the next beautiful point, which is now they're trying to make measles a big concern. So understand this circular logic of the Democrats. Like, nothing sums it up better than their panic about measles, which is like, okay, we've got this contained, like, it's not a problem. And then they say, okay, let's let in all these people with the disease. I got to be careful on some of these platforms. And then all of a sudden, let's complain that there's an outbreak. And then all of a sudden, let's not even fix the root cause, which is, can we at least test these people coming in? But it's insane. Yeah. And it's like the Washington Post. I'll let you talk.
Yeah, this made my mind immediately went to this. It's the same thing. They're like, gosh, where are all these measles outbreaks originating from? Could it be that we're importing people with measles? And the Washington Post ran a headline, I think it was last week. They're just like, there's been a mysterious drop in fentanyl seizures at the border. And they said it's complex. They can't really figure out why. And it's like, no. It's because Trump is securing the border and now drugs aren't coming into the country. It's really that simple. It is really that simple. If we don't want to have so much fentanyl in the country, or we don't want to have so much measles in the country, we just got to say you're not coming into the country. It is really that simple.
Yeah, and it just blows me away. People like the answer to certain things are really simple. You stop people from coming by the thousands, crossing the border, entering illegally. Funny, suddenly the drug shippers, and also Trump's done some aggressive enforcement. I got in trouble on Twitter. I didn't get in trouble, but I remember there was an article in Minneapolis. There's like miles of roads where all the copper's been stolen out of the light poles. I commented on it on my Twitter feed. We can maybe pull it up, but it was interesting because they're like, Mayor Fry was out there and like, okay, we're going to do this program to put the copper back up. So 17 miles of Minneapolis streetlights are out because people have broke into it and did copper theft. Now, Todd, I'm going to give an IQ test to our audience. I think our audience is super smart. In the comments, let us know what would be step one for this. I'll pause for a minute. There's a 30-second delay. My solution for step one, perchance we should prosecute these people that are stealing all the copper. And I was met with so much leftist hate. Like, oh my God, you're a racist. How can you say that? These people are poor. They're trying to feed their families. And I'm like, wait a second. You allow people to break the law, and then suddenly this has huge negative consequences. And like, if you suggest maybe we prosecute people breaking the law and then we don't have to deal with those consequences, and suddenly you're a jerk. It just blows me away.
Who knew? Yeah, and the idea that poverty causes crime, can we dispel that once and for all? Poverty is poverty, and criminality is criminality. They are two separate things. You can be poor and not a criminal, and you can be wealthy and be a criminal. There is zero correlation to that whatsoever. And just like AOC said they needed Nikes to feed their families, they were just stealing bread. Are they eating copper? And I understand you can sell copper. I don't know, Jason. I own a bunch of copper as well. At 2020, my brother and I went deep into precious metals. I am sitting on so much copper, and I don't know how to move it or unload it because it's not worth anything. I don't know. I guess go get
sell it to the city of Minneapolis.
Yeah, I will sell my copper back to Minneapolis.
Hey, by the way, too, and I shared in our work chat, we have the Goldco link on the bottom, handsoffmywealth.com. One of the side things Todd and I like looking at investments. Precious metals a good investment. Silver in the last like 2-3 days has popped up to like $36-37 an ounce.
Yeah.
And I remember you and I got in. I got my little, I don't have my sleeve next to me of the silver rounds. And when I got them a year ago, they were like $30 an ounce. Oh, here we go. Oh yeah, I always keep one handy. So you can get those through Goldco, little silver rounds. They're like $30 a piece. Now these things are up like to 36 a piece. So yeah, get your precious metal. But anyways, it's it's funny.
Yeah, I had an ad read on the old computer. That was before coffee that you can spill all day happened. And so I don't have an ad read, but folks, you can check out our lander for Goldco if you have questions, you're curious about it. What does an alternative retirement portfolio look like? I'm not trying to fearmonger, Jason. I saw Elon was tweeting out, though. I know we weren't going to talk about Elon and Trump. He's like, yep, Trump tariffs are going to cause a recession. So it's good to have a backup.
Yes. Yeah. And I got to say, I'm a big, like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And we are not your experts to give up financial advice, but precious metals have a pretty good track record. But back to the story. Can we go back? Can we pull up that one chart?
Yeah, I'll pull it back up. I just want to get to this comment really fast. I don't know if Michael is saying assholes in like a good way. Like, call me if being an asshole is just pointing out the obvious. I can live with that. Or maybe we have a troll. I wasn't quite sure how to read that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that as his new logo, but making Americans great assholes. Like, Michael, here's the thing. I don't know anything about you. But if making America great and making America successful and worrying about your friends and neighbors to make sure they have a safe neighborhood, to make sure crimes are prosecuted, all those things, like if that makes me an asshole, I'm an asshole. Actually, I would say I'm an effing asshole because I am militant about how much I think we need to make America great again.
Yeah. What say you, Michael? All right. I think this is the screen you wanted, right?
No, pull up that chart. I just wanted to touch on that real quick before we go Rumble only. Because we live in Minnesota. For those who don't know, Minnesota has a tax rate of about 10%. Paul can confirm. So like $0 to like $25,000, you pay virtually no tax, like almost zero because of the standard deduction from, the next one down, I think. That's the net age. If you make like 25,000 to 50,000, you pay very little in taxes, a couple $100 on average. And then as you move up the chart, you end up making more money. And this is a point that Democrats really don't understand. And this is relevant to America, and this is relevant to Minnesota. So I'm going to use Minnesota as an example and then extrapolate that, because this is a huge concept these Democrats understand. This chart, so Minnesota around the Rona time, like illegal immigration was going nuts. People are getting moved in. We have huge Somali populations, which we're going to talk about on Rumble only. And if you look at what's happened in Minnesota, the first two things, which are a little hard to read, are the net migration of individuals to and from Minnesota by income of primary taxpayer. So for those who can't see, I'll try to describe the chart. And I know the chart's a little hard to read. But what they did was took IRS data, and Minnesota is a net loser of citizens. And they're a net loser of citizens because Minnesota is becoming worse. It's expensive to live here. It's no longer safe in many parts of Minnesota. So those first two columns did your population of people that make less than 25,000 go up or down? Green means up. The net population last 4 years of people that make less than 25,000 went up. The next one's 25 to 50. That went up. So all these people making $50,000 a year and less, they're generally less educated. They're receiving multiple forms of public assistance. They may or may not be legal or illegal. Like this didn't break that down. But just say the number of people getting free stuff has gone up. Now, if you look at all the right charts, those are different age brackets. And Todd, what's that big long one? Is that the 100 to 200,000?
That's 100 to 200.
So to put that in perspective, the people making 100 to 200,000, they are paying $10,000 to $20,000 a year to the state of Minnesota. So they're writing a check. Paul's a small businessman. Todd and I are. You write your check at the end of the year. You're writing, if you make $200,000, $20,000 checks to the state of Minnesota. Every one of those person that leaves contributes more taxes to the state of Minnesota than any of the people in the green boxes. So your population of people receiving things that aren't net taxpayers, they're receiving more in goods and services than they're paying in, are growing. And the number of people who are receiving or who are paying the taxes are going down. This is a recipe for disaster. Why does this happen? It turns out if you're a productive member of society, you look at Minnesota and say, you know what? I don't need to pay for all those people in the green buckets. Like Minnesota's going to take 10% of my income. So the first dollar out of every 10 I make goes to Minnesota. Who's going to spend it on illegal healthcare and ridiculous things? I get to choose. I can leave. I can go somewhere else. I can move to a different state, city. And if you take this to a country, this is what Democrats don't understand. Rich people that are the ones paying the majority of your taxes, they are the ones that have the ability to leave. You want to tax rich people, 40, 50, 60%. Oh, we need to tax the billionaires if you Bernie Sanders. Like those people get to leave and they have the means to leave. This is a recipe for disaster. It's going to destroy our state. It's going to destroy our country.
Yeah, I'm going to dedicate. My wife and I were talking about this yesterday. She is a small business owner of a medical practice. We have a community up here of just small chiropractic offices, eye care clinics. And we were talking about this yesterday. Jason, would you know that next year, and again, I'll deep dive folks on my program, The American Tribune Live with Todd Peterson, Minnesota is implementing, starting in 2026, a mandatory paid leave program. It covers every single business in the state of Minnesota if you have one or more employees. Now, Jason and I, as small business owners, we work for ourselves. We don't get any of this lovely idea of paid leave, state assistance if we want to take Saturday or Sunday off to spend time with our families. But my wife employs like 4 people in her little office, and one of them can just say, you know what, I want to take a paid leave for whatever reason, and she'll be required to do it. We are hearing so many stories about small clinics, medical offices just closing shop and leaving Minnesota related to this chart here, because if you lose one employee for paid leave, you don't just have a replacement ready to go. Your office stops functioning altogether. But the absolute communist thought process right now in Minnesota, and you wonder why people are leaving, it's the high earners because they're the business owners, they're the people that generate jobs and create things for people. If you have a single employee, you are required to pay into the system's paid leave program. You're required to give your employees paid leave, paid time off. And doesn't matter if you can afford it, doesn't matter if you have a replacement ready to go, they're just gone. And so Minnesota policies, yeah, you wonder why people are leaving. You wonder why businesses are leaving Minnesota. It is stuff like this. It is absolutely insane. When 2026 hits, you're no longer going to have people showing up to work, and the state's going to condone it.
And here's what's really funny, too. All these crazy lefties hate the big corporation. We hate the man. They're the first one to complain about the man. What is the only setup that works for surviving ridiculous policies like that? Big corporations that have a larger workflow. Like if you have a small business, 5-10 people, and 2 or 3 of them are like, I'm taking a paid leave, like you're screwed. Split Rock Coffee, not a big organization. They got a handful of employees. 2 of them take off, like they're shut down. Our company, we have like 6 guys. Like one of us disappears, like there's 20% of the revenue, depending on who it is. But yeah, it's crazy. And I don't know why leftists don't understand this is a path to destruction. And this chart shouldn't surprise anybody. Like we have a really smart audience. Before I even showed this chart, I could have said, hey, so if you start raising the tax on the rich people, what happens? They would have universally said, well, people leave then. Like they're going to go somewhere where they're not going to be taxed so ridiculously. It's just common sense. It's crazy.
Yeah, I was trying to pull up really fast. Yeah, we'll skip over that here. Jason, we got one more clip here if we want to sneak in our hour.
Let's sneak in the clip before the hour.
You want to do Jesse?
Yeah.
But doesn't want to make any assumptions when Muslims burn Jews.
Should we save that for Rumble?
Yeah, that might be a Rumble only.
I think we just hit Facebook's keyword search.
Yeah. Yeah, and well, we should probably explain that, and then we'll hop over to the Rumble only. So, folks, Todd and I, a couple years ago, with a couple of our friends, we started a digital marketing company called Freedom from the Press. We do our business on the American Tribune properties. We have a website. We have a great Substack. The Substack, we talk about topics that we can't talk about on some of the other platforms. The American Tribune.news. We run some social media pages. Todd does his own podcast Tuesdays, Thursdays, American Tribune Live. Will does one, The Old World with Will Tanner, where he talks about like history and smart guy stuff. I'm on the Wayne Dupree podcast during the week, not affiliated with our business, but just another spot to get us. But we are living our dream in helping spread the truth. Hopefully you found today's discussion and the group chats. Hopefully you found it fun, found some entertainment, hopefully learned a few things. Maybe it taught you to think about a few things different. And like, wow, I never realized how evil these Democrats are. But because you guys tune into our show and watch, we have paid subscribers. People pay us a monthly thing, Todd, mainly on the Rumble, but you can do it on the other platforms.
Special shout out to Paul Reese at Split Rock Coffee, who gifted subscriptions to our Rumble community last week.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. And you're helping us live a dream in just fighting back against the lies and just the idiocy that's going on in America. And we can't say thank you enough. For Facebook, YouTube, we would love to share some of this content with you. We'd love to show some of those things. But frankly, if we play it for sure, the one video, they would not like that. So that's why we do Rumble only. Plus the Rumble group's kind of fun. It's a bunch of hooligans over there. Watch out for Kevin and K-Gun Girl. Dee Dee's nuts, but Fally. We got a great audience and a great community we're building over there. But if you go to rumble.com, look for the American Tribune. We're going to go for another half hour, 45 minutes, depending on how long we run. But we want to talk about a couple things that are really terrifying. And we've talked about a lot of scary stuff. That stuff's going to be terrifying. So on that's all I got to say, Todd, before we flip over to Rumble only. You got anything else before we flip over?
I do. I have parting words for our Facebook audience here. I retweeted and liked this from Michael Malice. He just said, this is the only thing I'm going to comment with Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Michael Malice writes on X, I'm just glad George Floyd isn't here to see this. He hated political infighting. So I appreciate the comment. Always thinking about poor George Floyd. So at least he didn't have to live to see this infighting in the Republican Party.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I got to say, we made it the whole hour without diving into Elon Trump. Oh my God. Sometimes it gets
All
right, we're going to take 60-second break.
I got to do it again, Jason. If you're on Facebook, we are not done. We are still going live on Rumble. Jason said it before. I said it earlier in the show. Go to rumble.com, green play button app on your phone, the American Tribune. I'm going to have so much fun with this, Jason. I'm just going to set it up in advance. I cannot wait to have this conversation, but it can only happen on Rumble. Go to rumble.com, search out the American Tribune, and we will see you in 60.